il est vraiment phénoménal. La 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 la.
When you're walking and talking and freaking and yelling and bossing and speaking and looking at a boy, no one tells what to do with your high top shoes and your wavy toes with the black shorts. Don't let him get away. Don't think they can play and nail him to the wall because you really need to say. Gotta go straight, they back up, bring me my ride. Bad turbo jacket. He's fat. When you're walking and talking, but he's faster than me. Shout my walkie-talkie man. Last night at the show. When you're walking and talking.
Multa Zitabanakis, welcome into the worst fantasy show. I am your host, Jack Lucene, and today on the show, we are drafting Best Ball Mania 5, baby. This is Underdog Fantasy's #1 contest, and we are kicking it off toot sweet right away, folks. Christian McCaffrey going off the board at 101. Chalk. That's typical. Tyreek Hill going #2. Usually, actually, you would see CD or even perhaps a Ja'Marr Chase, but Tyreek Hill, very valid pick. CD Lamb goes next, and we are already on the board. Ooh, I've been taking a lot of Bijan Robinson here, but you know what? We are actually going to go with, let's go with the spike week potential of a Ja'Marr Chase. I've actually not taken a lot of Ja'Marr Chase in this range. I've been usually taking, to be honest, like I said, Bijan Robinson or Justin Jefferson. So we're going to do things a little bit differently on this show. Last year, when we did this show, we had the 101, and I took Christian McCaffrey and a bunch of 49ers, and it actually ended up being a qualifying team. So maybe we'll get lucky 2 years in a row. Breece Hall. That's to me, I get it, but I feel like that's a reach pick. But that's not a reach, but it's like a hero pick. It's like you are obviously making your stance on Breece Hall, taking him ahead of ADP by a little bit. Amon-Ra St. Brown goes next. Bijan Robinson, AJ Brown, Puka Nakua. And this is the one I have beef with. Marvin Harrison Jr. at the 111. We went through this last year with Bijan Robinson. If you take him in the first round, he has to basically have a historic rookie season. Because if he gets you 1,000 yards and 5-6 touchdowns, it's gonna feel like a bust compared to, you could have had Jahmyr Gibbs, Saquon Barkley, Jonathan Taylor. I'm not as enamored with the wide receivers, but I mean Devontae Adams here just feels so disrespected. And then we get the run of the running backs. Garrett Wilson goes off the board, and I don't hate this. The taking running backs, who's your daddy here? Double tap the running backs, because if you don't like any of the wide receivers in that range, this is definitely a very deep wide receiver class and year. So I'm totally fine. If you want to pass there, you do that, right? Let's see we're going to be up on the board here. So Ayuk goes after Garrett Wilson. Devontae Adams, Drake London, Stephon Diggs. Now we're seeing a lot of wide receivers flying off the board here. So I could go running back. Oof, there goes Chris Olave. I actually am not super enamored with a lot of these players here, to be honest. We're actually going to jump down a little bit in ADP. We're going to take Josh Jacobs here because I really love Josh Jacobs in Green Bay. And especially, the opportunity presented to him to kind of really take over that lead role, but also, I don't see Jordan Love as like the type of guy that's going to scramble too much, and we could see that passing work out of the backfield that made Josh Jacobs even more valuable than just the traditional, big boy running style. So I'm excited about the prospect of Josh Jacobs there in Green Bay, and I liked him a lot more than, for example, Nico Collins, Devon Achane. I like him, but it's very much, in a best ball format, I get it, but you're going to get spike weeks and then dud weeks. And if you get that dud week come, week 17, when it's time to, win the championship, man, it would really sting for him to just bail on you. Malik Neighbors, it feels like the Giants landing spot finally pushing him down a little bit. Man, we're going to, you know what? We're double tapping running back. I cannot resist Derrick Henry in this range. I mean, to me, it's guaranteed 15 touchdowns with the Baltimore Ravens. So it feels like now we've got a really good, strong running back core with Josh Jacobs and Derrick Henry, going a little bit traditional with the running back build. But then we also have Jamar Chase as like a stud wide receiver. So we are going to probably focus on wide receiver for the next couple of picks, depending how this board shakes out, because I'm really confident in waiting on quarterback and tight end. You can wait on to an extent, but I tell you guys now, and I did a short video about this, my 5 best ball tips. One of them was make sure you get a tight end before the 9th round, because there is a huge drop off in tier from David Njoku and basically every tight end that comes after him. David Njoku to me is like the last potential tight end one that I really want to have on my team. So, that's one that I'm really going to be looking at. Is making sure I get that tight end before that 9th round drop off. And I also talked about on that same episode right here, Travis Kelce. Love that pick. I would literally, boom. Who's your daddy? I love what you just did there. Thank you. Who's your daddy? 420. Yo, shout out to you. Who's your daddy? 420. Hell yeah. But I've been saying, if you get to this 312, 4-1, and Travis Kelce is on the board, I'm 100% doing this double tap stack that he just did. That's fucking beautiful. If they bounce back, and it's funny to say bounce back because it's Mahomes, Kelce, like if they just have like a better year next year than they had this past season, if Xavier Worthy turns out to be a thing and Hollywood latches on, now you've got some speed on the outside, opening things up in the middle. All of a sudden, Travis Kelce has a bit of a rebound season and is the tight end one again. Yeah, I would be definitely taking that risk. I love that pick there. So shout out to you, whoever you are. That's going to be like, usually we look at a team post draft and see like, hey, who is our second favorite team? I can already tell you it's going to be him. So I've been gushing over that stack pick. After goes ETN, Metcalf, Hurts, Kincaid, Cook, Flowers, Lamar, and we are on the board here, and I hate everything in front of me. Oh, God. Jesus. You know what? We are going to go with – I don't want to go Margaret. I have not taken any Trey McBride. We're going to take Trey McBride here. We want to make sure we get that locked in tight end. And I think I'm even potentially going to jump the ADP a little bit and just pair him with Kyler with my next pick. Oh, but Joe Burrow's right there. Okay, that's what we're going to do, I think. And if for some reason, that's what we're going to do. We're going to take Joe Burrow next, assuming that, because look at this. We got two different teams here need a quarterback in front of us. All right, Pacheco goes. We're safe. Doubt E-Money doubles up on quarterback this early, but I've seen it happen before. And we'll see if Bullnut swipes us on Joe Burrow. And if he does, then we're gonna go with Kyler Murray. And if not, I'm gonna take Joe Cool here to pair him with Chase, as opposed to pairing Kyler on an even further ADP. I think I'm gonna take Joe Burrow here. I know I'm gonna take Joe Burrow here. Unless again, he takes Anthony Richardson, so we're safe. We're gonna take Joe Burrow. Pair him with Jamar Chase. I like that. So far, so good with how this draft is going. Let's actually pull up the big board and see what that looks like so far. Oh, this is a completely different window, so let me just switch. Actually, no. I can fix this by doing this, I think. No, not even. Okay, forget it. Technical difficulties, people. So I really like the way this team is looking so far as like a base. I'm very much about balanced builds. With Joe Burrow and Trey McBride, Jamar Chase, and we've got our two running backs in Jacobs and Henry to lean on. We're definitely going to have to start tapping some wide receivers. A little tap, tap, taparoo. No, we need to tap some more bomb tokes is what we need. Get some motivation. Oh shit. Damn near spilled. Oh, these draft shows. So we got who's going off the board here? Ken Walker the third, George Pickens. I like that value. This is probably the wide receiver one. You assume that it's going to be upgrades. Let's see who's your daddy does here. He's got no wide receivers. So you would assume, yeah, saw that coming. Xavier Worthy. Oh, wow, he took both Kansas City. So who's your daddy 420 going full Kansas City build here? Now, I don't hate that, but I also don't think I like that because I feel like you went too much with the Kansas City when you went both wide receivers. I was fine when you took Worthy. Taking both, felt like you reached on Hollywood, and you had other wide receivers there that I would have been perfectly happy taking. Like, people are really upset that Rome Odunze landed in Chicago. All it takes is an injury or even just a slight drop off, and he could end up being better than people think this year. Even I like, as much as I don't personally believe in Calvin Ridley, he has the opportunity to be the wide receiver one there. Cold ass McConkey. I do love some lad McConkey. I really hate the quarterbacks. You know what? I'm actually going to go with Brian Thomas Jr. I'm going to put my money where my mouth is because I am very high on Brian Thomas Jr. I had him ahead of Rome Odunze in my wide receiver rookie rankings. I don't have many shares of him. I think he can ascend and be the wide receiver one on his team. He struck me through when I was watching game film as like a prototypical NFL wide receiver that is especially going to be used in the end zone. And you talk about now both Calvin Ridley and Zay Jones are gone, not just the amount of touchdowns that leave with them, but the amount of, I think between Calvin Ridley and Zay Jones, they dropped or not dropped. Sorry. They had like 4 touchdowns, like overturned on some bullshit. So this is going to be very interesting what we do next here. I'm actually going to pull a little bit of a fast one. I don't think Bullnuts. I think Bullnuts going to probably go running back, I would assume. Yeah. We're going to just take 2. We're only going to take 2 quarterbacks with this build, but they're going to be 2 damn good ones. We're going to take Joe Burrow and Kyler Murray. So we got both. We got those stacks. And now we'll just be hitting basically running back and wide receiver, and we might throw an extra tight end in the mix a little bit later. We'll see how that works out. But again, so far, I'm really loving this build. Very even across the board. We've got our 2 quarterbacks locked in now. You've got 2 running back, 2 wide receiver. And potentially, again, if Brian Thomas Jr. has a better rookie season than people think, and with him, I'm really counting on potentially if he can have like 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns, which would be like a pretty monster rookie season, but with the opportunity that he has. And I do think Trevor Lawrence is, good at football. He's just had a really string of bad luck. Like, I don't think he's washed or anything. I definitely feel like he's being undervalued, and he could easily have a bounce back season. And if he does, and Brian Thomas Jr. is his wide receiver 1 for that bounce back season, I really love the value there. Speaking of value, these are value picks like that in other circumstances I would love to be making right now. So Christian Watson, at 8.1, I don't hate it, but I love Jordan Love. Jordan Love in the 8th round, to me, again, this is exactly why I was saying if you're not going to really take that risk on Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce in that stack, like we saw with Who's Your Daddy 420, I would just wait on quarterback because you can get Jordan Love in the 8th round. And, Dak Prescott's still on the fucking board right now. Like, oh, he just goes off at 8-7. But there you go. The 8th round, you can still get some really quality quarterbacks. Oh, here's something interesting. What if... Holy shit. Okay, you know what? Let's just fuck around and find out. We're going to take Brock Bowers here. Brock Bowers is either going to be generationally good or, maybe that pick doesn't work out for us, but that's going to be the only 2 tight ends that we take is going to be Trey McBride and Brock Bowers. And now, so we're even just going to take quarterbacks and tight ends just completely off our board. And we are just going to focus now completely on running backs and wide receivers for the rest of this draft. So, I've got a bunch of stuff coming down the pipes, obviously, as we're ramping up into the season. So just to kind of give you guys a little breakdown of what I'm thinking, I'm going to go back to live episodes for sure once the season kicks in. The thing about it, though, is I don't know if I'm going to be doing 3, and especially as long as I was doing. I think what I'm going to do is I'm still going to do 3 live episodes, but I'm going to make them all shorter. I think the thing that I'm going to start doing with my channel in general is just making it shorter. I'm going to try and my best to make, episodes and stuff shorter. I do have like the short episode series that I have brought out. Hopefully I'm not like shooting myself in the foot here because I'm going to work on it as soon as I'm done this, but I should have released the undrafted free agents for your rookie dynasty drafts last night, which would be a short video, my 5 favorites. And then I shouted off a bunch of names at the end. So make sure you check that out. And then again, this video technically would tie into obviously the 5 best ball tips. So if you're going to watch this video, you should watch really the best ball tips and then this, and then, hammer your own Best Ball Mania 5 drafts. All right, we are back on the board. And, I really love Zach Moss's opportunity. Let's go with that Cincinnati stack. Why not? They did not bring anyone in to challenge him. I really wanted to take Jonathan Brooks there and keep the rookie trend going because then we would have like a rookie running back, a rookie wide receiver, and a rookie tight end. He goes immediately after. But I like Zach Moss, and we're kind of building a little bit of not normally would you want to take like the stack of, you know, the quarterback and the running back, but team stacks in best ball. Like, I get why people do it. I try not to overvalue one team specifically. So if you're going to do those types of stacks, for example, like the way that Who's Your Daddy 420 committed to Kansas City by taking also both wide receivers, I personally would not have done that. I loved what they did with the Mahomes Kelsey stack, and if they wanted to take one of the wide receivers, in particular Worthy, I would have understood that. You know, I like to take, for example, and especially because one path to threading the needle, because obviously with these drafts, you're against a lot of heavy hitters and they have huge banks. Maxing out this contest, if you did all of the, I think it's 150 allowable entries at $25 a pop. So it's like $3,750 if you were to max it out. There's lots of people who do. And if you can afford to do that, great. Me personally, I'm not dropping $4,000 on fantasy football right now. It's not where I'm at in life. So I'm threading the needle. Last year, I didn't even know really what I was doing. And so I only did 2 contests because I was just learning. And this is only my second year. And so this is now already my second Best Ball Mania 5 draft. And I'm sure I will do more. I'll probably try and do, 5 to 10 this year. And maybe if I hit it big one day, then yeah, I'll obviously save some and have a pot that I can then work with. But the way to thread the needle, I'm going on a bit of a tangent here, is instead of targeting one team, what I like to do is kind of target 2 outlier teams. So 2 teams that I think can do well, and especially, teams that, maybe didn't do as well last year and are looking to bounce back and are set up to do so. And I like to bet on those teams for the regular season and draft from those teams so that I can kind of build equal stacks from each team. And so the way we've done that on this team, obviously, is, Cincinnati with Joe Burrow healthy, they could definitely bounce back. And then Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals, same thing. And we are already back on the board. I don't super love a lot of these players, so we're actually going to take Rashid Shaheed right here because he at least has spike week potential and a clear path again to, his role on the offense being secure, because he's a different type of wide receivers compared to like a Chris Olave or a Bub Means, who I really love as like an player to target. And I mentioned him on the undrafted free agent show that I had done. So again, I'm saying a lot. Jesus. That's like one of those things. And when you're doing presentation, don't say fuck yourself. How about that? How about I say fuck every time instead? That's probably not good either, though. I shouldn't swear as much. I know. I really know. It's funny because like this show isn't designed for me just to be obnoxious and swear, but it's because I just know it's going to happen anyways. And I struggle. I guess I'm a bit of a schmuck. So, I mean, it is what it is. We are almost back on the board here. All right. Who the fuck are we going to take now? Oh, see, there you go. Instead of an you got to fuck. Blake Corum? Zeke. Ugh, old Zeke. Brandon Cooks, though. You know what? Let's take Brandon Cooks. Because they did not add anything really in the wide receiver room except for Ryan Flournoy, I think, in like the 7th round or something. And Brandon Cooks, started heating up towards the back half of the season. If they are going to, repeat what they did last year, Brandon Cooks is going to basically have to retain a similar role. And I like him compared to, Khalil Shakir and Joshua Palmer and Gabe Davis. Like, yeah, okay, give me Brandon Cooks in a best ball format. Now, granted, we are already in the 11th round here, but we're definitely flying through this draft. I do like the Jerome Ford pick there because, obviously Nick Chubb coming off a devastating injury. I do think Jerome Ford is going to retain a role in this offense. Man, we really have some gross options available. We have to start getting some backup running backs involved. So we'll add Blake Corum to the list because obviously if he does get injured, then he's going to have value. As much as I hate Zeke, if he were to keep falling at some point, I would take him. Jalen Wright presents an interesting opportunity because if Devon Achane or Raheem Mostert were to get injured, which we have seen many times before, he has, again, spike week potential, especially when you're getting down to these later rounds. I don't hate Quentin Johnston as a bounce back candidate. I mean, they got to throw the ball to somebody there in Los Angeles. And I mean, yeah, he basically had a Gabe Davis type season last year where, he had like a 50% catch rate, and he obviously isn't like the most talented guy, but he's going to have opportunities. At this point, again, you either believe in the player's opportunity and the path to them playing or you don't. And I'm basically adding all the players right now that I believe in. So Roman Wilson, love him as, he's not obviously a perfect Deontay Johnson replacement, but he is coming into a wide open role on that offense. And they did invest decent draft capital in him. And the Pittsburgh Steelers are known for developing wide receivers. So I don't hate that. Jermaine Burton as kind of a late rookie shot. We're back on the clock here. Zeke is still right there. But I'm going to go with the rookie hotness. We're going to go with Jalen Wright here. I do like, again, his potential and ability maybe for upside. Zeke is like, he's just going to grind you out like really gross numbers. But man, look at that. As much as you want to shit on Zeke, this is like where the math problem comes in of like, so the pick I just made, Jalen Wright, if he, just for the sake of argument, let's just say Devon Achane and Raheem Mostert like stay kind of relatively healthy, Wright's going to score less points than Ezekiel Elliott. That's just, it is what it is. Zeke had just under 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns when I looked at that. That to me it's interesting. It's hard to ignore. He might be this year's Adam Thielen, maybe. Because last year I was saying you want to draft Adam Thielen in this format, and people, scoffed at me. And he ended up being incredibly valuable. But I think, even in a best ball format, people are wanting to take the shots on rookies. And, more often than not, it's like these veterans that just won't let go of the job that end up getting it done. Like Adam Thielen, again, this year is just being incredibly undervalued. And yes, also, I get, and I can already hear the best ball guy screaming, oh, week 17 is the only thing that has. Well, you have to actually qualify to be able to play in week 17. So, man, you know what? Let's just take Quentin Johnston here. Fuck. That felt gross, but again, if he bounces, it's like Best ball is great because I don't have to manage this. I don't have to know when to start Quentin Johnson. If he bounces back in any kind of shape or format, if he even has 808 800 yards and 8 touchdowns, like at this range of the draft, dead spots in best ball kill you more than anything. And dead spots is players that get you 0 points. And there's two types of players that do that: players that don't see the field and players that are injured. And it's because guess what? They don't see the field. So at this point, there's rookies that I'm going to start looking at some of these veterans a little harder. Definitely some running backs I want to add still. Like J.K. Dobbins is one that I feel like is being really overlooked. And there's a report recently that he's healthy, and it feels like everyone's just like really on Kamani Vidal. And I like Vidal. I liked him when I was doing my rookie prospects for the running backs. But man, the NFL's tricky like that. This could just as well be, again, Ravens light of maybe it ends up being J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards. Speak the devil's name and he will appear. J.K. Dobbins gets drafted. Our guy, Who's Your Daddy 420, is back on the clock here with his double picks. I'm thinking it takes CEH at this point. Like, Jesus Christ. No, I'm joking. He's obviously not going to do that. Oh, he takes Kamani Vidal. That's interesting. And Jaleel McLaughlin. That's actually, you know what? Learn, just as a general rule of life, learn from your competition and seek competition. That's something that I've been like kind of running into lately. I was arguing, and I'm going to make a separate video about this, but I was arguing basically on Twitter, because what else do you do on Twitter but argue? But I was essentially arguing about how I feel like rookie dynasty draft picks are overvalued. And when I say that, I mean in the sense of like, look, if you're going to be like Smog the Dragon and sit on the gold for so many years, like the gold isn't valuable if you're not actually using it to buy shit. Like if you're just hoarding it to just hoard it, like you're not doing anything with it. And then the problem is if you then go out and spending, you're so rich that you're frivolous with how much you're spending, then you will misattribute those assets. And when you accumulate so many draft picks, especially when it's in one single draft class, like the NFL is ruthless. Half these guys end up being busts. When you go look back, and I really suggest go look back at like your rookie drafts from even last year and see who in the first round, like how many, just count, like how many guys are good and how many guys would I not really even want on my team or have lost value. And then do that for the year before. And it's like, if you spent 3 years drafting and you took guys that you really liked and you studied them and but they just didn't work out, man, it's going to fuck up your roster for a long time. All right, so Adam Thielen got picked, I think, while we were talking. I'm going to take Jalen Polk here. Not super huge on Jalen Polk, but they obviously drafted him with high capital, and he could potentially be the wide receiver 1 for Drake May. So we will take that shot. Antonio Gibson. You know what? I don't hate that. It's just maybe Bellatrix kind of just persists. Khalil Herbert, just a talented backup who has been kind of the starter before. Devontae Walker, I like him as a potential starter. Tyrone Tracy Jr. is someone who, former wide receiver, converted, but smashed the combine, and has an opportunity because it's basically him and Devin Singletary sharing that backfield right now. We'll see what that turns into. Tyler Boyd should find a landing spot. Odell Beckham. Yeah, I'm good. Thanks. Thank you. So, yeah, we're just going to keep smashing Okay, so we're going to take Antonio Gibson here because we do need some more running back help. I'm getting towards the end of this draft. Love doing these night drafts because they definitely go a little bit faster than when you're going in the morning. We got 3 picks left here, so that's perfect. 3 picks and we're out. This is definitely the part of the draft that is easy to overlook, though. Oh, yeah. What are we doing? So, yeah. Let's just recap what we've got so far. Very evenly balanced between the running backs and wide receivers, 5 to 6. We're going to get some, just keep peppering those wide receivers because wide receivers are king in best ball. But our quarterback and tight end, this is usually, honestly, I will end up going with 3 quarterback, 3 tight end because I end up waiting on quarterbacks and tight ends, or I will play hero tight end in a sense of like I'll take one guy in kind of like the 4th to 8th round, and then I'll take some guys that I think have upside or a path to scoring like guaranteed points, and I'll draft those types of players. I think veterans honestly get overlooked way too much in best ball formats because again, those it's someone. Oh, okay. Here's a perfect tie-in. Okay, I just did a worst interview show with my guy Jay Wong, who is a podcaster actually for fantasy hockey, but he also does fantasy football. And one of the things that he was talking about during the interview, which will come out, so this is a little bit of a spoiler, but also a tease for the interview that's going to drop on Wednesday. Make sure you check that out, please. But he mentioned that it's all well and good to love a player and their potential, but ultimately, like the main goal in fantasy is like, in what way does your player interact with the object? And when he said object, because obviously he's a fantasy hockey guy, he meant like the puck, but the ball. How does your player interact directly with the ball? Can your player interact directly with the ball? Is if the player is already directly interacting with the ball, then that is a valuable player to have in a format again where you're not having to guess when to start them. So even a Hunter Henry here at 16.2, like he is going to be a viable tight end, especially if Drake May turns out to be good. Hunter Henry's going to have weeks where he pops into the end zone 1 or 2 times. We've seen that before in this system. So, and compared to like a Jawan Johnson who goes shortly after, who really has much less of a chance, I feel like, of, actually seeing the field and doing anything. So we're going to take Tyrone Tracy here. Again, putting our money where our mouth is. I just really love his opportunity and his combine. I love everything about his tape. And what I like about him too is, again, his ability as a wide receiver. When you talk about like behind Malik Neighbors, it's Wan'Dale Robinson and Darius Slayton and Jalen Hyatt. Tyrone Tracy could also see targets out of the backfield. He could, if he ends up replacing that role for Saquon, and they go with kind of using Singletary as more of like a traditional running back, and then bring in Tyrone Tracy on passing plays, that would be really interesting to see too. So I'm curious to see how they're going to use him. You know what? Pop Douglas here. I'm not really enamored with him as potentially like the wide receiver 3 for the New England Patriots. But I like to think that I'm not someone who is so staunch in my takes that I won't listen to what other people have to say and learn and adjust my own thinking based on that. And you know what? I'm going to pull up the name. He didn't score any. He's like the new Jacoby Myers. Didn't score any fucking touchdowns last year. I'm going to pull up the name here. Who are you? Who? I can't sing, but I'm looking on my phone for this guy. Oh, here we go. At Gun Corky. 2 Gun Corky. Who's this guy? No. Anyways, on Twitter, mentioned to me, because I basically someone had posted their roster and I said drop Pop Douglas. And it's because I actually didn't see Dameon Pierce, hilariously enough, on their roster. And it was, I'm assuming it's a shallower league. I think it was like, must have been like a 10 or 12 man because they had a pretty good roster. Well, I wasn't just saying like, oh, drop Pop Douglas for shits and giggles. It's because he was legitimately like, to me, the worst player that they had. It was like, you know, they had Desmond Ridder and Jawan Johnson. Jawan Johnson's one that in Dynasty I feel like I have a hard time letting go of because tight ends just take so long to develop. And he's always had to deal with like the Taysom Hill effect and a bunch of bullshit in New Orleans. And if that Taysom Hill role is eventually reduced somehow and he just sees an uptick in receiving work, you never know. But I understand like why you would drop him instead too. And then Desmond Ridder was like, so it was like, you know, bunch of basically like worthless players in a sense of like they are probably never going to crack your lineup. And if they are cracking your lineup, so shit went horribly wrong for you. But you know, very long-winded again. DeMar, he was saying, did 2 Gun Corky, Mr. Corky, said that Drake May historically in college targeted the shit out of slot wide receivers, that neither Jalen Polk or Javon Baker, who were recently drafted, present as slot wide receivers, and that is very much a Demario Douglas role. So he may have a deep cut role on this offense, but man, he's snapped up. Everybody's snapped up at this point. We're in the deep, deep waters. So, son of the GOAT, Jerry Rice's kid, Brendan Rice. I like him. Odell Beckham. No, I'm not going to do that. Jalen Hyatt. Maybe Jalen Hyatt. He had flashes of potential, it felt like, but, you know, they don't have a quarterback. Ooh, Dylan Laube. That's one that I'm definitely going to want. He has an opportunity, obviously, behind Zamir White. The Deutsch. Oh, he just got snapped up, did he? Ooh, Darius Slayton. Darius Slayton is another one that is hilariously, like, again, you just look at the last 2 years. You don't want to have to know when to start him, but 50 receptions, 770 yards, 4 touchdowns. 46, 724, and 2. 126 fantasy points in best ball. That's just, you know, free money. That's free money points. And it's like, or I could take Jalen Hyatt, who, you know, really didn't do anything last year, but you hope for the potential, especially playing with like Malik Neighbors. But Darius Slayton is kind of like very long outside, you know, it's a lot of spike week stuff. Bro, Miles Sanders. The fall of grace for Miles Sanders. What if Miles Sanders actually ends up doing something this year? How funny would that be? I'm going to take him. We want to get one more running back in. How funny would that be if he actually like was okay this year and really fucked things over for Jonathan Brooks owners? I mean, at an ADP of 215, I am totally fine taking that risk. Also, there's always a chance of what if Miles Sanders ends up leaving the team like during the year and landing elsewhere where he actually has a role. Like that could always happen too. So that was kind of a sneaky last pick to take Miles Sanders there because it's like, you know, if I'm going to have a dead spot, I would want it to be like the very last pick that I made. So that is it for the Best Ball Mania 5 draft. I super appreciate you guys hanging in there. I'm going to let you go right now. We got a lot of great stuff coming down the pipes, so make sure that you super kick that subscribe button. Drop me some comments, and again, you can always send questions to my social media or to worstsportschannel@gmail.com. But until the next time, I will catch all of you guys on the flip side.
He's running down the middle by the 50. He's at the 30. He's bare-chested and banging his chest. Now he runs the opposite way. He runs at the 50. He runs at the 40. The guy is drunk, but there he goes. The 20. They're chasing him. They're not going to get him. Waving his arms, bare-chested. Somebody stop that man. Here comes